Tropical cyclone Marcus continues to maraud its way close to the north coast. Weather systems pushing across the southeast to take us into Monday with some cooler weather behind. Some rain into the far south of New Zealand, but many places further north, Auckland for example, should stay dry with some sunshine. That's all from me. Bye for now.
As the world gets smaller, business opportunities get bigger.
If you're actually going to succeed, you need to enter new markets quick.
E-commerce has opened the door for companies to trade well beyond their home market.
Building a strong internet presence is an important part of growing a company.
But with new opportunities come new challenges. How do companies thrive in an increasingly competitive marketplace?
The internet has changed the economics.
Connected Commerce on BBC World News.
Hello and welcome to BBC News. I'm Gavin Grey. Russia says it will expel 23 British diplomats in response to Britain's decision to throw out the same number of Russian officials following the nerve agent attack in Salisbury. The British Prime Minister Theresa May says the government had anticipated the Kremlin's move and is considering its next steps. Our correspondent Steve Rosenberg reports from Moscow.
He'd been expecting the telephone call, and today it came. Britain's ambassador was summoned to the Russian Foreign Ministry. And in the skyscraper that Joseph Stalin built as a symbol of a superpower, the ambassador was told how Moscow would retaliate for UK sanctions. A note of defiance when he left.
We will always do what is necessary to defend ourselves, our allies and our values against an attack of this sort, which is an attack not only on the United Kingdom, but upon the international rules-based system on which all countries including Russia, depend for their safety and security. Thank you.
The ambassador headed into work to tell embassy staff about the Russian sanctions. Moscow says they're a response to British provocation. Russia has expelled 23 British diplomats. The UK had expelled 23 Russians over the nerve agent attack in Salisbury. The authorities here are shutting down the British consulate in St. Petersburg, and the British Council, which promotes UK culture abroad, will now be forced to end all activity in Russia. Moscow says the language coming out of London was a factor in deciding what sanctions to announce.
The British Prime Minister insults us and threatens us. Her Foreign and Defence Secretaries insult us. They talk to Russia as if they're drunk in a pub. So what the UK got from us today is a result of this loudishness and their groundless accusations.
Not so, said Theresa May.
Russia's response doesn't change the facts of the matter. The attempted assassination of 2 people on British soil, for which there is no alternative conclusion other than that the Russian state was culpable.
Relations between Moscow and London haven't been this fractured since the Cold War. The expulsion of 23 British diplomats, that was expected. That is traditional tit for tat. But the shutting down of a consulate and the activities of the British Council, that feels like a challenge to the British government. And the Russians have said that if Britain responds with more measures against Moscow, then Russia will respond with more sanctions against the UK. The danger now is a spiral of confrontation. Steve Rosenberg, BBC News, Moscow.
Well, voting has begun in the presidential election in Russia, where Vladimir Putin is seeking another 6-year term. There are 7 other candidates who are also standing. In other news now, and thousands of people have been forced to flee the northern Syrian town of Afrin with the face of Turkish offensive. Another exodus is underway in the rebel-held enclave of eastern Ghouta, which is being subjected to a Syrian government offensive, as Andrew Plant reports.
Under control of the Kurdish forces, Afrin in northern Syria has been under Turkish attack. The city became the battleground as the two sides fought for control. Civilians now fleeing their homes in search of safety.
As you can see, there is war and displaced people. Our children are hungry and we've been walking for 3 days. And thank God we have arrived here.
Further south, on the outskirts of Damascus, eastern Ghouta has been under siege since 2013.
We wanted to leave 3 months ago, but the Ghouta rebels did not allow us. They starved us.
In the past month, hundreds have died amid repeated bombings as the government tries to retake the area and drive out the rebel groups hiding here. This temporary shelter now overwhelmed. Ahmed Badayu says his family fled as the Syrian army forces approached.
People were hungry. Ghouta's women were in good health. Now they became thin. They begged for money. The rebels have a lot of money and farms that cost millions.
In the past month, President Assad's forces have retaken, they say, 70% of eastern Ghouta.
According to the information we have, individual militant units are ready to lay down their arms and leave eastern Ghouta, but they are waiting for the command from their Western patrons.
7 years of civil war has driven 12 million Syrians from their homes. Meanwhile, more than 400,000 are dead or missing, many buried beneath the rubble in the dozens of towns destroyed by the conflict. Andrew Plant, BBC News.
At least 3 bystanders, including a baby in a pram, were killed by stray bullets during a shootout between Brazilian police and a drugs gang in Rio de Janeiro on Friday. The killings in the Alemão favela district come a month after the Brazilian military took control of public security in Rio State to combat a wave of violence that claimed 7,000 lives in the past year. The city also saw protests on the killing of Wednesday for a rights activist. This is BBC News. Well, stay with us here on BBC News because
really
still
cold
to come.
For the time of year across large
Hanging
parts
on
of
a
Europe
cliff
at
edge,
the moment,
the horror for homeowners in Hemsby. 10 properties are evacuated as strong winds and high tides threaten to wash them away.
Being forced to push their way quickly eastwards.
Well, back now to our top story, and police in Salisbury have renewed their appeal for witnesses following the poisoning of Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia. Around 400 people have been interviewed so far, and investigators are trawling through 4,000 hours of CCTV footage. Health officials say Detective Sergeant Nick Bailey, who was exposed to the nerve agent, is making good progress in hospital. Duncan Kennedy has the latest from Salisbury.
Sunshine here, perhaps, but more snow likely.
The tempo and scope of the police operation across Salisbury remains intense and widespread. Today, police issued their first official photo of Sergei Skripal's BMW, whose movements they want to trace. In their most comprehensive timeline to date, police now say the car was first seen at 9:15 a.m. on Sunday, March the 4th, in the London Road area of the city. At 1:30, it's spotted on Devizes Road. 10 minutes later, the car arrives at Sainsbury's, and Sergei and Yulia go to the Mill pub. At 2:20, they visited the Zizi restaurant. And then nearly 2 hours later, they're found violently ill on a nearby bench. It's nearly 2 weeks since the Skripals left their home here, and today the police revealed the full extent of their investigation.